which is long life to all of you. This is what I'm praying. Dewo and Dewo, good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? Dewo is an Igbo Nigerian word that means greetings, but it does have a deeper meaning, which is long life to all of you. This is what I'm praying for every one of you, wherever you are. I hope that you are inhaling and exhaling this blessed day. What a privilege it is to be here today when so many could not be. So I just want you to take a moment and just take life in. Inhale and exhale. Yes, indeed, that's a privilege. Many did not see it, but here you are. I don't care what you're doing today. Take the time to say thank you to the Most High for allowing you to inhale and exhale today. Don't you just want to just jump up and down, do a little jig to your favorite music and say amen, ashe, or whatever it is you say to thank divine mind for this grace bestowed upon you today. I feel so good. I feel so good. And I hope you do too. We have a wonderful, wonderful, exciting show today, because today we are going to address marriage cultures and their impact on the success of marriage. Does the structure you have in your marriage impact the success of your marriage? There are certainly so many different marriages worldwide, different traditions implemented to achieve marital bliss. Which one is yours? Which one is yours? There are those marriages that uplift the partners, and then there are those that have issues that sort of makes the humanity of one partner diminished. And while the humanity of the other partner is elevated. And sometimes this is under the guise of culture, and it's accepted. It's accepted, and the one party, the one person, partner rather, is okay with it because it benefits them, while the other one struggles in silence. And that's not what marriage is supposed to be. We're all supposed to be happy in it. It is not a way for one partner to prove that he or she is supreme over the other. There's one such custom that is designed to please one partner, which is the man, and prevent infidelity. And the idea is to prevent infidelity in women. That is the female genital mutilation, or FGM. Many of you have heard about this. Now, for some cultures that practice it, it's perfectly accepted. But those who choose to come out of it tell horror stories about how that makes them feel as a woman, how that diminishes them. See, what it does, it causes injury to the female genitalia. And this is for non-medical reasons. There's no medical reason for it other than to please the male. It has no health benefits for girls, certainly not for women. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but over 200 million women worldwide have gone through this procedure. And some of them, obviously, because it's part of their culture, they go along with it. What are you going to do? But some of them find it extremely intrusive and cruel and impacts them negatively as women. It has caused childbirth defects, or rather infantile deaths, inability to control the urine in a woman, painful intercourse. These are some of the cultures. And there are many African nations that do that, in Asia as well. But that's a kind of culture, a tradition. And women live through this. Now, I've got to say that FGM is becoming very unpopular. As you can imagine how unpopular that ultimately will be when it does what it does to a woman's body, you know. So I'm kind of glad that it's going away. It's still there, and in some areas it's still coming back. Like in Nigeria, for instance, the then president, Jonathan, had set up a law against FGM. That was in 1915. Goodluck Jonathan, he was the president of Nigeria at that time. And he set up a law to ban FGM. Well, unfortunately, as of February of this year, FGM is back again, particularly in the north. And young girls, as young as 5, go through this procedure. And it's very, very painful. And there's no antibiotics used, so infection set in. And there's nothing to stop the pain. No anesthetics used. Sometimes very primitive tools are used. And these kids are held down and their clitoris is cut off. Now I want you to think about that. That's something that's supposed to be culture. And that is supposed to make a man happy. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And particularly when the women get older, they can't reverse it. It cannot be reversed. So for the rest of their lives, this is what happens. They live with that horror. To me, that's a horror story. That's definitely a horror story. But again, it's a marriage culture. And then there are marriages based on polygamy, when a man can take as many wives as he can afford to take care of. Now, these women live in compounds. They all have their own rooms. They don't all clumped into one room. No, they have there's a compound, and they have their own houses within that compound, and their own children live with them. But you may think, and most people think, it has to do with a man lusting after many wives, you know, but in some cases, that's not what it's about. In many cases, it's for economic reasons. You see, in African nations, and in most cultures where agriculture is the source of economic livelihood, a man takes many wives, and his first wife will concur, just so he has enough hands to help him till the land. So it's not so much that he's marrying just so we have all these wives. It's for economic reasons. And quite frankly, if you don't have the money, if he doesn't have the money to support these wives, it limits the number of wives that he can have. Now, that is changing, though. Much of that is changing because of the living arrangements now and the professions that people are going into. Many of them are living in the cities, and you don't have that much space for too many wives. And whatever it is you're doing may not need many hands. Instead, it may be, you'll have many mouths to feed. So many are settling for one wives, and the women prefer that way, particularly the women who have educated and want to take control of their own homes. So having too many women in there creates quite a bit of a problem, I would say. And in some societies, you have the theory that a man is the head of the household. And when that is the concept in a marriage where one is over the other one, you do have problems. There are some religious doctrines that teach that the man is the man of the head of the household. And when it's not reciprocal in terms of the weight of responsibilities in the home, because one then assumes all the responsibility while the one that's the head goes to work, comes back, and that's it. And then unfortunately, some of the women in such households, they work as well, but they still work and assume the burden of running a household while one is supposedly the head and then needs to be taken care of. Just as the woman is taking care of her children, she has to take care of this man because he's the head and he doesn't have to do too much. That's another culture. And there are some other cultures, like some Indian cultures, that the understanding is that we are in this together. I got a letter from a Nigerian woman named Ifeanyi who lives in Lagos, Nigeria. And she wanted to share with me how her household runs and why she's having difficulty in her marriage. She says, "Dear Dr. Osimiri, I'm experiencing difficulty in my marriage. My husband is very controlling and feels that as the head of the household, I have to do what he wants me to do. And the specifics of our marriage involves a lot of cooking, a lot of cleaning, taking care of the children, and he hardly ever does anything. Before we got married, we swore to love each other and respect each other and take care of each other. But I think that has changed now because now I do all of the taking care of. Yes, he works. He has a good job. But he uses that all the time to dictate what I can or cannot do. He doesn't realize that I work as well, even though I don't work outside of the home, but I do work. I take care of the children. I make sure they're well fed. I go shopping and buy the clothing. I make sure that the house is clean. I do the laundry. He doesn't see that as work. What he sees as work is him going to work and coming back. Now, I'm educated as well. I'm an attorney. I can go and work, but he doesn't want me to do that. He wants me to stay home and mind the house. He feels that he is the one at liberty to do as he pleases. And the worst part of it is he cheats on me. And frankly, I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about leaving, but I believe that to do so will be a violation of a spiritual promise we made before family and in the church. What should I do? Wow. Well, I want to respond to this from a spiritual perspective as a spiritual leader. And one that is in a different kind of marriage. I'm an Igbo Nigerian woman. And there is an Igbo proverb that says, which means that when you know someone, you visit and commiserate with them. So it's important for you to know a little bit about me, a little bit about my marriage culture, my spiritual perspective on marriage. And you take from it what you will. And if you don't appreciate what I say, that's okay. That's okay. Remember, we're talking about different marriage cultures. Since your marriage was held in a church, I would imagine that means that you're a Christian. I'm a Christian, so I really can't tell you how marriages are upheld in a Christian environment. But I'm sure that what you described is not necessarily how all Christian marriages work. So I cannot tell you, oh, this is because you're a Christian, that's the way it is. Quite frankly, I think it's because of your husband. As a man, you're married, and we can't put it on the Christian principle, Christian religion. But there are some aspects of the Christian faith that he's upholding, and that is the man is the head of the household. So I kind of think that's what's feeding his ego, that man is the head of his household and the woman should be subdued before her man and all of that. Well, so that I can speak on that. That is not the kind of marriage that I have. That is not my marriage is chaste. But let me just share with you what that is. In Chiism, which is my spirituality, there's a different perspective in terms of the relationship with man and woman. Chiism is also called Godianism in English. And Chiism is the African spiritual tradition of direct communication with Chineke, God, without passing through any medium. And the spiritual tenet is steeped in the philosophy of Biri and Biri. I want you to pay attention to what I'm telling you, because that's what's going to tell you the kind of marital environment I live in. It means live and let live. Biri and Biri means live and let live. Respect. We respect our elders. We honor our ancestors. We revere Mother Nature. And we adhere to the rule of law. I just want to throw this in that my father, Uwa Onyioha, and some other historical Nigerian political and cultural icons propounded Chiism as a reenactment of our original spiritual practices to combat the devaluation, the devastation, devastating influence of colonial mentality and machinations. So, and we're also encouraged to acknowledge and celebrate our shared humanity with everybody else. Here is where I'm going to start arriving at how I relate to my husband and how he relates to me. I believe this right is that right where we are, God is Chineke. And in Igbo, we say Monachiso, I am one with the Creator. So how I treat my fellow human being, which my spouse is a human being, speaks volumes about my understanding about my relationship with the divine mind, or Chineke. In Chiism, we acknowledge that it is through our fellow human beings that we receive Chineke's blessings. So no matter how much prayer we do or how much stomping and accompanying dust that we stir up, Chineke only blesses us through another human being. So consequently, to honor Chineke, I must respect my fellow human being. And my spouse is that vessel through which Chineke's blessings flow. He is another human being. So it's imperative that I honor and respect him. But here's the kicker here. Chineke, in our spiritual belief, has a masculine energy and a feminine energy. The masculine energy is chi, and the feminine energy is a ke, working in tandem as a creative force. In keeping with our respect for masculine and feminine force of Chineke, marriage thus is centered around the principle of honoring our spouses as manifestations of Chineke. We say that have you ever tried to wash your hands with one hand? It doesn't work. You need the other hand. So your husband is either your right or left hand. It doesn't matter. The order is not important. But it is that we need each other to make it work. One hand washes the other. Marriage between a man and a woman is based on the foundation of mutual benefit and respect, the same that we accord the spirit of Chineke as masculine and feminine energies. None is superior. One is needed as well as the other. So customarily, in a chaste marriage, we do not ascribe a head of the household. The man does what he's supposed to do, and the woman does what she's supposed to do. We honor the different roles we play in the family. We don't say, I've never had an occasion for my husband to tell me I'm the head of the household, or I say to him, I'm the head of the household. We have a role to play, and we understand and we respect and honor it. We value and encourage mutual regard for the value that we both bring into the marriage. That is so important. That's the spiritual concept. That's the spiritual component of marriage. If you respect Chineke, if you respect God as the vessel, God as the spirit that has both essences, both energies, then you can't say that your husband is superior than you are, or your wife is inferior, or vice versa. Because to do so is to disrespect the very sanctity of God. And that we believe that we really, that is the essence of our relationship. If you're chaste, that's the essence, that's the key to your marriage. The couples in a chaste marriage are reminded that marriage is not a one-way fits all. It's not a one-way fits all proposal. It's not this way or the highway. It's not this is the only way that works. There's no magic wand to usher success. There's no magic wand. There's nothing you're going to say, boom, and it works. It has to be worked together. And it's always work in progress. It's not perfect, never perfect. And if you're seeking perfection, you're going to fail. Your marriage is always going to fail. Now, if you have a husband who wants to demand such, you need to ask, where is his source of inspiration coming from? What is inspiring him to feel that he can treat you that way? Something is inspiring him. It's not so much something in him. He's not doing it because of him. He's doing it because there's something that inspires him to do that way. It could be his religion. It could be his upbringing. Maybe he saw his dad treating his mother that way. Or maybe his religion tells him that, quite frankly, to be a real man, he has got to do what he's doing. He's got to put somebody down. But let me remind you, as I said earlier, it is not all marriages that look like yours. But there's many marriages that look like yours. Every marriage must add its own internal roadmap for internal behavior. Check and recheck its viability to achieve blissful matrimony. You gotta, it's work in progress. Yeah, you're going to have those times that you are upset, you're angry, or you just want to say something. You just want to lash out. There are those times. And it's understandable. We live in a world where we are a lot of times that, we're told what's right, what's wrong, what's right, what's wrong. And sometimes we buy into all of that and then we try to apply it in our own lives, and it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. For matrimony, for positive matrimony to occur, you must maintain a unified front. That's what I'm taught in Chisholm. You and I we wash our hands with both hands so that it will come out clean. You have to maintain a unified front. And in some marriages, what tears us apart is friends and family members. They cause us to fall apart because you share some of your issues with them, and then they want to give you their input. And you have to remember the input they're giving you probably is the input based on how their relationship is going. So if it's working for them in their relationship, they may tell you, oh, that's the way it should be. So that means that your husband is wrong, or your wife is wrong, and all that. And then next thing you know, you guys are fighting. You must have mutual respect. Respect her as a woman. There is nothing more powerful, more loving, more endearing than a woman. The word is because of her. Her womb is life. That's where life comes from. Yeah, you plant your seed. We understand all of that. But she's got to water it in that womb until that seed becomes a human. You know what I'm saying? So you cannot disrespect that which replicates you. Without her, you have no son, you have no daughter. So you can walk around here bragging about all this stuff, about being head of the household and all of that. But listen, my brother, without her reproducing your descendant, you have nothing. Just that couch that you sit on and make noise. So you got to respect your wife. You've got to respect her. You have to build her up. You have to make her feel good. You have to make her feel, hey, listen, this is where I want to be. You don't want to make her sad. You don't want to pump all that I'm man thing. A real man doesn't have to do all of that. You know what? If you're a real man, you don't have to do all of that. She knows. She knows her man. You don't have to pump yourself up and let the feathers fly to prove that you're a man. You don't have to do all of that. Just be kind. Use your power for positive good. And that positive good is not just to go and make money. That positive good is to make your spouse feel good. That's why sometimes you think you're doing so much. I give her money. I buy her this. I bought her that. And why is she not grateful? Something is missing. Something is missing. And what is missing is her sense of comfort, her sense of belonging to this family, her sense of well-being. If it's not there, she's not going to appreciate what you're doing. You're wasting your time. A happy home, a happy woman is a happy home. You want a happy home? You better make sure your sister, your wife is happy. Now think about that. How can I cook beautiful food for you when you insult me in the process? Whatever I can cook for you, that's what's going to be on your table. How can you insult me every day and expect me to be loving towards you? I get a headache all the time. That's what you'll find. Your woman will get a headache all the time because there's no desire to be bothered with you. And now I got to talk to sisters as well. Because it's not just the man that should respect you. You should respect him as well. Sometimes we women come into a relationship with washed out ideas and expectations. You know, you knew he was not a doctor. You knew he only made $50,000 a year. And now all of a sudden, that's not good enough. But you married him. He did the best he could. But now your friends are telling you about them going to Paris and doing all these wonderful things with their husbands who make $200,000 a year. And all of a sudden, your husband, who's working very hard to make whatever he can, he's not good enough anymore. Your expectations change. You start looking down on him. Whereas what we could do, what we should be doing is building each other up. Build him up. Build him up. Do you have any ideas how he can better himself? Share that. But share it with such kindness that you encourage him to do better. A good marriage has no room, no space for waywardness, infidelity. There are reasons why people become, some people, it's just in them. They just can't keep their eyes closed. They just like, they see something nice, they want to go after it, And there's an African proverb that says, Igbo proverb that says, one is a lawyer. When a woman gets old, it's like there was no dowry paid on her behalf. That happens. That happens to some of the men, getting old. They want to feel younger. So they got to go after these young women. And there you are, after investing many years of your life. All of a sudden, you're not new, you're not fresh, and then they want something else. But they get mad now if you do the same thing. So infidelity goes both ways, and it's important for everyone in the marriage to understand that could be stopped. But the important thing is if you're working in tandem with each other, that may not become you have to do things that make life exciting. Sometimes, you get bored. You get into the same routine. You get up, you feed the kids, you got to make the beds, you got to mop the floors, you got to do this. It becomes routine, and you forget the other part of it. The other part of it is to remain interested in the relationship. So how do you remain interested in the relationship? Do something different. Do something fun. I hope Ifanyi's husband is listening somewhere, because the whole idea of him sitting and watching her do all that, that's old, that's tired. This is 2022. He's got to wake up. It's not how it works anymore. It's not going to last. No, that's the truth. After all, as she's letting me know, she's tired of it. She's thinking about leaving. But he doesn't know that she's thinking about leaving, because he's still stuck in this, I'm man thing, but he doesn't even know what's going on around him. Every marriage should find the time to do something exciting. What is it you do on a daily basis? Sometimes it's boring. Yes, I know. But you got to spice it up. Spice it up to some degree. And one of the things that's really important is how the person leaves the house. When your spouse leaves the house, is it bye, see you later? Or do you have a conversation? Do you have coffee together? Do you talk about what's going on in your lives? The expectation for the day, wishing each other well? Do you pour libations, asking Chineke to continue to bless your union? Do you honor the ancestors without whom you will not be there? What do you do as a team? What do you do? One of the things that's so important is conversation. What kills a relationship is lack of conversation. You know what? And it's easy. It's quite easy to just tune out, because you're so used to routine. You get tired. You know what your routine is, and then before you know, it's time to go to sleep. But there's no room for anything else. But you got to create it. You have to create the marriage you want. And somebody had this conversation. They say, when you get married, don't say till death do us part. That's too much. That's too much pressure, believe it or not. Just marry somebody and pray that every single day that we will do what we need to do to remind ourselves of how we started. And if you do those things every single day, you will find that there's no need to put on yourself, oh, till death do we part. Why would we even bring that in, till death do we part? Just talk about, I will stay married to you each and every day. I will do what is necessary to keep our love intact, to keep us loving each other every day. Make a focus on every day, not that when you die, when till death do you part. That's frightening. That's not positive. That's not something to think about. Think about every day. Think about what you're going to do tomorrow. What's exciting for tomorrow? This is what I recommend. This is a good recommendation. Now, some of you will appreciate it, or you may not. Decide who's going to prepare the meals? Who's going to prepare the meals Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? And who's going to prepare Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Or do you have a day that you're just going to have a date night and go out? But the days that you're going to cook at home, don't let him know what you're going to cook. Don't let him know, oh, this is fish fry. This is a fish fry day. We're just going to have fish. No. That's not what you want to. You want him to be surprised, or you want her to surprise. If that to be surprised. The day that you're preparing a meal, let it be a surprise. What are we having today? Not this is fish fry day, this is spaghetti day, this is the French fries day. I mean, what's exciting about that? You know, after a while, the person may just decide, well, we're having fish fry today. I don't want no fish fry. I've eaten. And they may eat before they come home and they tell you, save the fish for the next day. So you got to be creative. Don't do the same thing over and over. I say, I have a friend of mine in Arizona. I had the opportunity to visit her and her husband. It was just amazing how they live. They have, like I said, they have their days that she prepares the meal, he prepares the meal. But one of the things that was very interesting that they were doing is that they have a book that they read every day, motivational book they read every day. Each one of them will pick what page that they're going to read, and they read it out aloud, and then they talk about what they just read, and then they talk about how that applies to their relationship and what they can take from it and what they will take out and remove from it. And then they wish each other well. And when they come back home, they repeat the same thing before they go to bed. I mean, it was a routine that I saw. I thought it was so fascinating. And they're older. They've been married for, I think, 36 years, something like that, But when you watch them, it's almost like they're just newlyweds. They say they live for the day. And that's my attitude now. Live for the day. Live that day. And if God blesses you with the next day, pump it up with all kinds of fun things to do with your partner. Let me remind you, when you're old, that's when you appreciate who you're married to. Because when you're older, your family move away. If you're friends right now, if you have routines that keep your love alive, when the family moves away, you will still be lovers. When the family moves away, you will not be bored. When the family moves away, you still have something to look forward to, not just look forward to the kids and what that brings to the family, which is positive, obviously, if you're lucky and you have good kids. But when they're not there anymore, that man that you disrespect is the one that will be there when they're no longer there. The woman that you disrespect is the one that will know that is going to be there when nobody else is there. So if you choose to get married, make sure you start off understanding what's going to make your marriage last. It's not what the church said. It's not what they say in the culture outside. That is all fine and dandy. But what do you bring into the home? What are you setting up? What do you set up? If you married somebody that's sexist, sexism is going to be a part of your relationship. If you knew that and you married them, then you should expect that. Before you get somebody in your life, check that person out. If somebody tells you, I'm going to change, they're not going to change. No, they're not. If you marry them with all their weaknesses, then be prepared to live with the weakness. But if you see something that you're not going to be comfortable at the beginning, don't settle for that, because it's not going to change. Now, they will tell you verbally that they're going to change. That may be verbal change. May not, in actuality, they may not do that. If you know that you're marrying somebody who's prejudiced, they're not going to change. They learn that prejudice somewhere. Now, you always hope that you can change them. That's the mistake we all make. Oh, we're going to change her. She's going to be my project. Or I'm going to change him. If you're willing to accept prejudice in your marriage, that's what you're going to get. Sexism, as my dear friend wrote me, is what she accepted. There's no way you could tell me that she did not see sexism in him, for him to be the way he is. He must have always been a sexist, feeling superior to women. He must have been that. I don't think it just happened. I dare say it didn't just happen. So if you want, if you know that the person that you're about to marry has so much apathy about everything, he will have apathy in your marriage. Be careful who you're bringing into your space, and that goes for men and for women. Selfishness is another thing that you find when somebody's allowing you to do all that work while they sit around doing nothing. That's selfishness. And if you knew it ahead of time that you married them, expect that. Expect that in your marriage. How can you get along? Well, you have to deal with it. How do you deal with it? Well, certainly let them know how you feel. And if they're not willing to change, I don't know what to tell you. But I would say you don't stay in a relationship that is not healthy for your mind, for your spirit. Marriage is not supposed to hurt. It's supposed to be when you're in your parents' home, they raised you, you've achieved in life, and now this is the next phase of your life. That next phase is not supposed to cause you so much pain. It's not supposed to be something that you have to live with. No, you don't. If it's not working, ask for Chineke's intercession. And if it doesn't happen, if nothing changes, sometimes It's good if you stay best friends and just move away. If you're lucky, you can still be friends, but you can't stay in a relationship that's bad for you. And the worst kind of relationship is one that the one spouse has disdain for the other. Now, usually what happens is when somebody marries you because you have money, and when I say money, it's not just the man who has money. Sometimes the women are the ones with the money. But if somebody has disdain for you after they marry you, they married you for your money. Now they start seeing the real you, the human, and they don't like that anymore. They don't want to be bothered with you. They see everything you do as They develop disdain. They never really valued you when they married you. They married you for something you had. They've gotten it. Now, you don't really matter anymore. They've got what they want. You cannot find happiness with somebody who does not respect you, does not value you. I know that the reason why many individuals stay in a marriage that's painful for them is because of family. And this woman is Nigerian, so I know that you've got the extended family participation, extended family influence, and it's so hard sometimes to get away. And unfortunately, it's always the woman's fault. In most cases, not all cases, but what are you doing to him? Or what are you not doing that makes him act that way? You get the blame for everything. Such marriages are not healthy. I don't care if you had that wedding in a church. I don't care if you had it on a tree, in a boat, on a plane. If it's not healthy for you, you don't need to be there. Try as much as possible, of course, to see a therapist to see if you can work it out. If you can work it out, you must try. If you can't work it out, then you must part ways, particularly if you're in an abusive relationship where you're physically abused. There are some cultures where it's perfectly okay to beat on your wife. They have cultures where it's perfectly okay to kill the woman. It's called honor killings. Now, can you imagine being a woman who has to live under such stress? You don't know what you could do. If a man looks at you, if a man rapes you, it's your fault. If a man looks at you, it's your fault. Everything you do is your fault. There are such marriages. Can you imagine, as a woman who's not used to that kind of thing, living under such conditions? There are such marriages. There's such customs. And then, of course, there's those marriages where the children are married, where they marry babies. I watched one. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. There are just some things that you're so used to seeing certain things that you just tune out. But I saw a marriage procession where the wife is 3. The youngest wife, that was in Lebanon somewhere. These are babies betrothed to a man. So they showed this grown man walking with his bride who's just 3 years old. Although you got the 5-year-olds and you got the little 6-year-olds and 10-year-olds, and these are babies. But that's a marriage tradition. And when she's old enough, now they don't always go home with the man while they're little. But the man knows this is my wife. So then when she gets to be a certain age, sometimes by age of 15, now she has to go to her husband's house. A 15-year-old is still, to me, is still a child. A 15-year-old to me has no business. Her body is still developing. She has no business whatsoever being married. But that does happen. That does happen. There are such marriages, such relationships. Part of the daily routine that you should have should be something that you do consistently. And as I said earlier, ask Chineke to bless your relationship. Ask for divine intervention if your relationship is not working out. If that doesn't work, if you work together, if you pray together and ask for blessings together, you're more apt to find solutions together. If you ask for blessings for your union, you're more apt to find solutions together. If you are paying a lot of attention and you have interest in the daily activities of your spouse, you find it a little bit more interesting to be married to this person, because you're talking about what he or she is doing. You guys are involved. You know, any exciting thing that happens outside of the home or within the home, you're sharing it. And respect for each other's role. This whole notion of I am head of the family, there is no such thing. There is no such thing. That is something that society dictates. And unfortunately, when you take it into your relationship, what it does, it diminishes one spouse in favor of the other. You're all supposed to work together, and you make each other feel good if you feel that what my wife is doing is just as important as what I'm doing, and what your husband is doing is just as important as what you're doing. Because, and the thing about it is that the children will see what they want to repeat in their own lives. Monkey see, monkey do. Do I have a perfect marriage? Of course not. Far from it. Who does? But there are just certain things you have to do to stay in that relationship, to stay in that marriage. When somebody says that they've been married for 60 years, 70 years even, there's a reason. You don't stay that many years with somebody if there's nothing about them that's interesting. You stay with them because there's something about them. There's something they add to your life that makes you want to stay with them. It is not a miracle that somebody has been married for so many years. That alone, the number of years should tell you there's a lot of work going in there. And that's not to say that they don't have issues. Of course they do. Most marriages do. Anyone that they say they don't, I'm not sure I believe that. But the important thing is that you work it out. That's actually the important thing. You work it out. You work it out. And you must work it out. Let me see what I have here. Somebody says, Brooke Berlin-Baxter says, 50K is nothing anymore. Yes, $50,000. Well, it might not be anything anymore, but if that's what the person has, that's what you have to live with. That's what you have to live with. And then if that's all they bring in, then you have to say, okay, what am I bringing in? What do I add to that 50,000? Now, how come you can't do better than 50,000? Now, if you can bring in more than that 50,000, if you can add to it, then certainly. Women can be creative. Even if you work at home, you can be creative doing something that brings in money. You can use your creativity to bring in money. But all I'm saying is that it is not right to expect the man to all of a sudden, you were quite satisfied with them making so much. And now that they're not making that, your expectations has changed, and then your attitude changes with that expectation. Or that the husband all of a sudden, the wife is not as beautiful as she used to be. Well, I don't want to say that, but how in the world is she going to be as beautiful as she used to be? Because now all she's doing is cleaning after you and your children, So you got to have a time. There's nothing that makes a woman feel so good than when you tell her positive things about how she looks. Take the time. She may even know she doesn't look that great anymore. But if you tell her that she does and she buys into it, look out. Nothing makes a person feel better about themselves than somebody that they care about complimenting them and telling them, you really look good today. Because there are some men who just walk right past. They don't even notice. You see that in sitcoms and all of that sort of thing. But that's also, sitcoms sometimes it's just real life. They're really real life. Where you find, you're doing everything you can to try to look good and all of that, and your spouse never sees anything. So if you're a man, I'm just telling you this, compliment her. And you compliment him too. Because men do sometimes they just start feeling insecure. Sometimes men feel quite insecure. And so you want to remind them that you still love them. They're still all that in a bag of chips. You know what I'm saying? So do take the time, Akachi says, right? And the average black household in America makes $47,000 a year. Oppression and economics. That's right. Sometimes you want to. I look at the gentlemen who come and pick up the garbage here, and you look at them, and sometimes they look down, like the self-esteem is not there. I always make it a point of duty to say, hi, good morning, how are you? Thank you so much for what you do. We appreciate what you do. And he just perks up. There's no telling what he hears about the kind of job that he has. Maybe he's not making too much money, so he doesn't feel too good about him. And perhaps the person at home doesn't think he's making enough money, and certainly not praising him. But everybody needs to be praised. Everybody needs it. So if your husband is making just so much, praise him for what he's making. Another bag of chips. What is that? 90s reference. Listen, sometimes I go retro. It all works. You bring it back into 2022 and it works. It works. I don't know who this Facebook user is, but how dare you? How dare you? But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I'm just trying to remind all of you that marriage is work. Marriage is hard work. And you have to be a participant. You cannot be in the sidelines trying to see your marriage work. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Marriage works if you make it work. I want to take a moment here, and many of you know that part of my philanthropic work with the African Women Mobilization Commission is fundraising to help those who are suffering in IDP camps, internally displaced people. These people really suffer, and we're trying to do all that we can to help raise funds. And I just want to take a moment to play this video. Remember something about the women you see and the children that you see. These are people who had a home, had a life until they were displaced. Some of these women were teachers. They had their own homes. Some of their homes were burned, and they became displaced, and here they are. Now they are begging. And if you can find it in you to make donations to this wonderful work that we're doing, please do. If you can't, share it. We need your help. Now, we've gone and we've fed them, but there's so much more feeding that needs to happen. One time is not enough. So I just want to play this. And please don't go away. Those of you who are here, please watch this video.
Hello, Queen Mother. As you can see, we are here in Marital camp, the first camp. Today is the first day of our cooking program. Today is the first day of our cooking program for the IDPs. So we are here for the distribution. Thank you, ma. Zainab is here to carry out all the other activities. Thank you, ma. One.
please, when you leave here today, I don't care if you go and drop $1. I don't care what you do, but don't walk out and turn around and walk away. $1, $2, $5. As you can see, this is what your work, your donations is doing. We're actually using it to help. So please do give us your support. Thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful, wonderful show. I hope that, yes, Adora, I'm not sure who this Facebook user is, the amazing work that is being done, these precious faces, lives, we will continue to support. Actions speak louder than words. Thank you so much. Please do go and give your support. We appreciate it. One cannot speak about changing lives without looking into the eyes of those helpless faces whose lives clearly need to be changed. Yes, indeed. And your lives need to be changed too. If you're in a marriage that is difficult, find out what you can do. If you're not doing anything and if you're just complaining, don't. You can make a difference in your own marriage. And if you need help, you may need to see a counselor. Call me. I'm a spiritual counselor, and I'll be able to work with you as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there's any in the house, thank you so much for joining us today. And I certainly look forward to speaking with you again. We have a very exciting show next week. Next week, we are going to be interviewing a powerful Nigerian woman who has made it in Nigeria, in the United States, and we're going to be featuring the topic is why African people do so very well in America when they come here. Why is that? What is motivating them to accomplish so much? And you're going to be, it's a very fascinating show. You do not want to miss this show. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next Saturday. And as we say in Igbo Nigeria language, Kemesia, may all go well for you. Yagazie. Good day.